Okay, I'm warmed up. I'm ready. Whoa! Hey. What?
Hey. Lost category to guitar one day.
Oops. Gotta slow down. Okay. All right. Let's try that again. Fuck. This picking shit, I tell you. Let me try that again. fucking way. Oh, that's what we're doing. That's right. Right there. Okay. So I'm done. And that's the first time I went live without, I'm presuming, without a fuck up. I'll have to check out the video. But the first one was Open Heart. Second one was Why Do I Love to Hate? Third one was Black and Blue. Fourth was the mellow one, Something Evil. Then Mass Murder. And then Genocide. All my originals put down. Hope you all enjoyed it. Kind of like inspiration from last night when I was playing. Thanks, Brother Derek. You know, thank you, Hannah, for watching. And anybody else who watched, I truly appreciate it. This was something that was a long time coming. And I always wanted to do Genocide with the acoustic part first. I finally got the acoustic back. I picked shit to pain. But it was something really nice that I did. And you know, it just felt like going live today. I'm gonna check out the video myself in a little bit. I hope you all, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed it. Assalamu alaikum to my friends out away in Palestine, Gaza, and Rafah. My love is for you guys always. Thoughts and prayers. You know, and anybody else that watched, I thank you all. For my friends out in Gaza, Palestine, Rafah, I'm sure it's about almost maybe 11, 12 o'clock, wherever you guys are, maybe even later. Free Palestine. Thank you so much for watching. And for people that watched last night, I didn't get a chance to thank. I thank you all for watching last night too, as well. Like last night was just off the cuff shit, that acoustic stuff. I don't know where that came from. It just came from this fucking brain. You know, I didn't go to school for music. Yeah, I see what chord progression and key my shit's in. I couldn't tell you. All I know is that my gear is tuned in F, motherfucking F. So yeah, man. You know what? While we're here, let me take you into my room. Show you what I got lying around here. Oh. First and foremost, got my Colombian flag. Let's just put that out there. All right, my horror figures and whatnot there. Some Black Label Society, Ramones, some Dimebag Dames, Ozzy. You know, I don't have to repeat this. You know, this is where I play, man. This is just my home, my if you will, my man cave, practice room, whatever you like to call it. This is my home away from home. It's where I do my shtick. This is where it just all comes down. You know, the reason why it's pink, this is my stepdaughter's room before she went to college, and I was too fucking lazy to paint this shit. I mean, really am. But this is it, man. My humble abode. Go Jets. I pray and hope. Got my figures here. Oh, they didn't fix Vic. Holy shit. Ugh. Let me put Vic back up on here. Mr. Rattlehead. I just want this picture of my father. Rest in peace, old man. This is just it, man. This is my humble abode. This is where creativity comes. Horror figures. Of course, you got the axe there. And all my guitars after my wife and my daughter. This is Stephanie. That's Christine. And buried back here in the front is a lady. And there's Beanie, my dime, buried in the back, if you will. So this is God. Worked on by Diamond Crank before he passed away. This is one hell of a fucking amp. The sound is just amazing. Everything's just amazing and beautiful. So I want to thank you all so much once again for joining. And I appreciate you all so very much. I have you all in my heart. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum. Be safe, my friends. Be safe. Peace. I'm done.